Hello, beautiful community. It's been 15 months since I last stood because of the microvascular damage I sustained after COVID. The last 2 or 3 days have been quite unsafe and violent, and in this stabler moment, I want to take an opportunity and share with you something I've just written off the top of my head about how to be happy when you're really ill. And I was going to put it on my tiny Vlad diary channel, but I actually thought this actually applies to all the challenges, health or otherwise, that you might be facing in your life. And so I want to share this piece with you. But first, a couple of words on my 15 months. As you know, I've had a myalgic encephalomyelitis for almost a quarter century, but in the last year and a half I've also had long COVID, which is a separate illness in my case to do with damage to my microvasculature. So let's say a word or two about where I'm at 15 months, then I want to read the piece to you that I think will speak to everybody. There is more acceptance. I have stopped getting angry at obstacles because, of course, I'm mostly bedbound, but I can be in the wheelchair for a short part of the day and a long part of the day on very rare good days. And I have stopped getting angry about things being in my way. So there is a kind of acceptance that shows. Had a series of medical appointments recently with some of the best specialists in the world, and in the last one the line was basically, you're microvascularly screwed, you've got clots and damage to the microvessels in your lungs and can't do much about it as it stands. I am also, of course, still shocked and balancing acceptance with refusal to accept about the fact that not even for a quarter of a second have I stood up since April 24th, 2025. Enough on that, because I want us to have a positive experience about how to live with challenges. And this piece will speak very powerfully to you if you're chronically and acutely ill, but it'll also speak powerfully to you if you're healthy and you've got challenges in your life that are overwhelmingly frustrating or unbearable because you feel like they don't match your life's blueprint. And this is written just off the top of my head, so the writing is good and very bad in just that way. One of the big emotional challenges when you're ill with myalgic encephalomyelitis or long COVID, now don't forget, these are very violent illnesses. The people worst affected by these illnesses are as ill as people with fatal illnesses a few weeks out from death. So while these illnesses are sometimes fatal but rarely fatal, they just shorten your life, they don't take you out in most cases. The level of suffering is really not commensurate with pretty much any other common illness, except the terminal illnesses not far out from death when you look at the more extreme ME and long COVID patients. So this is just serious stuff. But it doesn't have to be that. We could be talking about other extreme and acute illnesses. So that aside, let's rock and roll. One of the big emotional challenges when you're ill with ME or long COVID is how to feel good about a day, especially when it is a very bad day. When poison is coursing through your veins, you can't stand or sit or breathe well, when pain is so radioactive that you can't locate it but are crushed by it. And knowing that what's ahead are many days like it, some better, some worse, and then death, unless you are in the 5% who recover. The first answer to the problem is, of course, to survive. Sometimes surviving is already good enough and justifies a wonderful sense of achievement in a tussle with life at the edge. So, just to say a word about this, when people with these acute chronic illnesses are being maximally restful, when they're trying to not just lie down, because lying down is not rest for most of these people. You have to lie down in a very, very special way where you don't do anything at all, right? And for some people, that's all they can do, right? Some people with these illnesses can't tolerate light or darkness, light or touch or sound, I mean. And so what we want to say about people when they really, really rest with these illnesses is they're doing really important work. They're not doing nothing. It's not like you, if you're well, when you lie down, when you're kind of doing nothing, perhaps letting your mind wander. It's very hard work, because when your body is very, very ill, it pushes against you, of course, as soon as you try to relax, even more. So sometimes surviving is good enough, and it justifies a wonderful sense of achievement in this tussle with life at the edge. But it is hard to sustain yourself by merely surviving. I'm going to correct this. It's at this point that I want to say that there is more. But this is hard to talk about or to achieve. And achieve is precisely the wrong word, of course. At core, this is about the realization that happiness and suffering are both part of life, albeit so unjustly distributed between humans. When you are so ill, this means entering a space where wanting something very much, but not being able to have it, is no longer a tyrannical experience. That's what we're aiming at. How do I want something very much when I can't have it because I'm so ill? And make that wanting not be a tyrannical experience. The tyrannical voice tells you it shouldn't be this way. Now, of course, it shouldn't be this way. But it shouldn't be this way is often a thought mobilized by the tyrannical voice. And telling the tyrannical voice to go away is itself tyrannical. Which is to say, one needs to be gentle on the part of oneself that doesn't want to be gentle with oneself. But even that is not enough. What's needed is for a kind of positive voice to compete with the tyrannical voice without forcefully crowding it out. I think that positive voice could start with a question mark or several question marks. I wonder if there is something about the awfulness of this situation that I'm running away from facing. Often, it's not being able to face the awfulness of illness that makes the emotional experience of illness more rigid. Moreover, there is always such a thing as authenticity. There's a wonderful book from the 1930s by Marion Milner called A Life of One's Own, which I warmly recommend to everybody. Which is to say, authenticity is how do I enter this moment as me, even though it's an awful moment. And the need for authenticity as a source of happiness doesn't go away even if you're suffering. Then there is the question, what can I do? What can I do in this situation? This sounds like a stupid question, and of course it is, but it isn't entirely stupid. Maybe there are some things you can do. Maybe you can reflect on a memory, or break into a partial smile about life. Maybe you can reflect on things you would be doing if you were less ill, and do so not only with a sense of pressure, oh, I can't have these things, I want to have these things, I can't have these things, I want to have these things, I can't have any of these things, and do so not only with a sense of pressure, and notice I'm saying not only with a sense of pressure, I'm not saying you can do away with the sense of pressure, but with a sense of wonder about the particular things you love. Water, got to say water with an Australian accent, it's very important, water, sunshine, a novel, a smile of a loved one, a wonderful coincidence you once experienced. Another question is about kindness. What about the kind thoughts you have about people in your life? This is important because it's external. Illness has forced you inward in a very aggressive way, or other challenges you face might have done that. Getting out of yourself, even a little bit, is a way not to distract yourself from your illness, but to accept it more. And so on. None of this is easy, but it is part of life. Tuesday evening, beautiful community, main channel video. One of the best I've ever done. Main channel video on Tuesday evening, beautiful community. Catch you later.